only about 10 protesters. They're unarmed and mostly Israeli. But it's enough to disrupt traffic on Route 4370, Israel's newest road in the West Bank. The same number of Israeli police are gathered there facing them.
They pushed people, they tried to arrest people, they tried to remove us from the road, they shot some flash grenades and generally behaved pretty violently towards us.
Was it aggressive?
Of course.
Police dispersed the protesters in 2 phases.
Most Israelis don't really think about what's happening in the occupied territories, and that's part of what we also want to do, to say, wake up, this is what's happening in our country.
And here's the object of their anger, 2 parallel stretches of road. They're not long, only about 5K, but they are symbolic. The 2 roads are divided by a concrete wall with metal fencing on top, 8 metres high, separating Palestinian and Israeli drivers. And it's one more wall in an area which already has its fair share.
As you see, we have a wall here with a fence above, because children from the Arab village, they used to throw stones and a mold of cactus on the road, so we built a fence. But you can drive here, everyone can drive here, I can drive on the next side.
He can drive on the other side, but Palestinians can't drive on the Israeli road because that requires showing your documents.
When we will arrive to the checkpoint, they will ask my permission and your permission. Everyone, even me, should give them the permission or ID card. They can see that he has a permission to get in. אהלן, הם רוצים לראות שגם אותי בודקים. כן, כן, מצוין, טוב מאוד. הם טוענים שטוב, אחר כך אני אסביר לך. Thank you, good day. I have a wall between my house and my neighbors. What it means, it's apartheid. There are 2 roads, there is a wall. You can drive here, you can drive there. So what's a wall? Every wall in the world is apartheid?
This route saves time for Israelis living in Jewish settlements in the West Bank and working in Jerusalem. It's also a way for them to avoid contact with Palestinians during frequent traffic jams. Instead of using the crowded Hizma checkpoint, the main entry into Jerusalem for Palestinian drivers, Israelis now have access to the city from 3 different directions.
Okay, so we're on the Palestinian side.
But for Palestinian drivers, the road does not lead to Jerusalem.
Both Israelis and Palestinians enter around, from 60 to 437. They come into the city, but there's a turnoff into Jerusalem for Israelis. The Palestinians get routed away. So it's basically the process of beginning to really segregate Palestinians and Israelis in the West Bank.
Palestinians have to go out of their way for several kilometres, driving on roads around the Jewish settlements to reach Jerusalem. Some say this new route has one silver lining. It cuts the journey time for Palestinians travelling between the West Bank towns, from Ramallah north of Jerusalem to Bethlehem to its south.
Hi, it's good to see you.
But Palestinians argue this is only an advantage in the short term.
It seems it's good for the Palestinians, but when you see it deeply, it is against the future of the Palestinian state. We have a very weak government, we have a very weak president, At the same time, you have very tough, extreme government in Israel. And you have another government here in West Bank, which is the government of settlers.
Human rights groups claim the new segregated road is only the latest phase in a campaign aimed at keeping Palestinians away from Jerusalem. Betty Hirschman argues this is a long-term Israeli plan finally coming to fruition today.
It's also a way of enhancing opportunities for construction and deepening of the settlement here. The creation potentially of a 4th settlement block adjacent to the city.
Israel's aim is to establish an indivisible Jewish Jerusalem, cemented by building Jewish settlements around it. Palestinians warn this will make the 2-state solution impossible and will be its death knell.